Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Claire Haillot, and I'm so excited to be here today with you and for this live event on card making. So we're going beyond fabrics. Yes, that's correct. We're going to be stitching on paper using your sewing machine and making handcrafted cards using paper. And for all of you embroidering enthusiasts, by the end of the event today, I'm going to be showing you also how to make cards with your embroidery machine using the mySewnet embroidery software, either the gold or platinum subscription. So whether you're new or experienced in sewing, I'm sure you'll find something to love. So feel free to say hi and in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. And also let us know if you've ever done sewing on paper before. So as you do that, I'm going to start on the first technique, which is sewing on paper. Let me show you a few pictures. Yeah, let me show you some samples. I'm so excited. I want to get right down to it, but I'm going to show you what do they look like actually. So here we go. This is actually the first card I made, just a sample run. And I started having so much fun. I started to create more designs that we could be using. So Mother's Day is just around the corner. So that was really my first idea. And then I figured, you might have some wedding, if you are going to a wedding this summer and you'd like to create a card for the occasion, there are so many options. And also graduations are coming up. So with the embroidery machine, I've actually created this fabric card for as a gift for graduation. So there are so many ideas that could be made. I'm really just scratching the first surface as I go along here. So I'm sure that as I show you all the tips and tricks to do that, you'll come up with your own ideas as well. And please don't hesitate to share your ideas so that more of us can actually create even more designs. So let's start at the basic because I'm excited, but I got to slow down here. So let's start with this card. So how did I make this card? So to begin with, I actually went ahead and used my Momento digital cutter. I cheated, basically. So here is the Momento digital cutter. I actually have a 12-inch mat on the machine. And mind you, I'm not going to be using it today. It was just to show you how to get it installed. Right now, if you've noticed, if you looked, I have the standard grip mat on the Momento digital cutter. However, you should be using the light grip mat. I have one, but it's 24 by 24 inches, and I just don't have enough room for these live events to be using a bigger mat. So if you're wondering, it's big. So it's actually the green one. Okay, so the green one is the light grip mat. The gray is the standard mat. So if you're a sewer, you're used to using the red mat, which is to cut fabric using the rotary shape cutter. But right now, today, for paper making, card making on your sewing machine, I would use the green, the light mat with the Momento digital cutter. So, and of course, the regular cutting, also not the rotary cutter. So basically, I went into the software and created that shape. And that's the fun part, because the Momento have these heat removal, the pink one is a heat removal marker. So you can actually, let me just show you right here, you have your section here to put the cutter on. But if you pop that one open, you can go ahead and install your marker. And that one is the heat removal marker. And it will be marking the design of your choice. So that's how I got to mark my design onto paper before getting into sewing. All right. So that's a fun thing. Using the heat removal pen, I can write the design that I want, go ahead and stitch it out. And once I'm done, I use my iron lightly, not a lot, and I can press it down and the whole drawing, the whole marking will be removed, and you can just see the beautiful stitching. All right, so that's the trick on going in advance, preparing everything using the Momento cutter. And also, if you want to, like you can see with this card right here, I actually used fabric in the middle. So having that heart already pre-shaped, I can go ahead and go and cut some fabrics, and I can then layer my cards and add more to the card using, again, the digital cutter. So those are a few tricks to get prepared to start making your cards. All right, so I'm just going to remove the marker. I don't want it to dry out. I'm going to close it up and I'm going to store it away. And let's talk about the other things that I use to make the cards. So first of all, we can talk about definitely the cardstock. I'm using lightweight cardstock because that's what I had at home. But again, have fun and play with it. You can use medium, you can use heavy cardstock, you can use glitter cardstock. And again, remember, you can layer them and stitch them together. So that's the whole fun. There's so many ideas that you can have, you can play with. So that's for the paper. Now let's go to the sewing machine. So for the sewing machine, I'm going to be using the Creative Icon 2 today to be doing all my sewing. I actually added the extension table. That helps you because cardstock, it doesn't lay, it's not as, it's not like fabric. So you want to make sure that it's being held and it's not moving too much when you're sewing, and you don't want to distort it. So having that extra space with the extension table or even the quilter table, please, if you have it, put it on your machine. You're going to find it very useful to be doing your sewing. I'm also using the clear open toe foot. So again, that is one of my favorite foot when sewing, when quilting, and it's also the one that I prefer when I am making my cards with the basic sewing. So those are the two things that I use. And then, surprise, surprise, usually when we sew a new project, we tend to say, don't forget, take a new needle and put it up on your machine. So this is the only time that I will actually tell you, take that needle out. And if you're like me and you put all your old needles in a pillbox, grab one of those old needles that have had those 8 hours of life in sewing that you can't use anymore, and pull them out. So if you're thinking, I don't like to do that because I really want to use them all the time, well, now's your chance. When you're making cards, go and grab those needles. So again, let's talk about those needles just a little bit, because the bigger the needle, the bigger perforation you're going to have in your paper. So depending on what you're doing, you might want to go with a smaller needle so you don't see those holes too much. However, I love to make cards using very thick thread. So in that case, I'm going to go try to find the thicker needles, like the 90, number 90 needles that I have in my little pillbox, as long as they're still straight. You don't want to have a crooked one, but if it's still straight and it's just all because it went through that 8-hour life cycle for whatever it was meant to be before, you can definitely use it to make your cards. So again, don't go, it's not just the universal, whether it's universal, ballpoint, quilting, embroidery, it doesn't matter what needle. At this point, you're actually sewing on paper. It's going to damage any needle you want to be using. So an old needle, whichever it was meant for at the beginning, just put it up on that sewing machine and you'll be ready to go. So that's for that's the basic of what you need to get started. And so I'm going to, let's see, I got so many, I just have to decide where I'm going to start from. So basically, before I start sewing that mom, I'm going to be showing you a few stitches because there are some like ground rules, because you are, when you're sewing with fabric, if you're stitching a line and you realize that you're off, it's not exactly the way you want it, you can just take your seam ripper and take that stitch out. But with paper, you can't. So it's a good idea to just be carrying these extra pieces of cardstock just to be able to test your stitch out before you actually start sewing onto your card itself, because that as soon as that needle will hit the paper, there's no going back. So you need to make sure what you're doing when you start. Okay, so and you also have to be careful when you're sewing, because you're sewing on paper. Again, there is perforation. So depending on the stitch that you use, sometimes it could rip the whole paper out. But so I know you've probably heard before, like for example, a satin stitch. You know, you would never use a satin stitch on a card because that will just create a big hole. Well, I personally would not do a satin stitch on a card, but there's a lot of stitch outs that actually have something that looks like satin stitches, and actually found a workaround to be able to sew that on paper anyways and not have a big hole. So I want to show you all my tricks. Let's move over here so I can show you a few of them. So here's the first one that I wanted to show you. So again, those are tests that I've done on cardstock before working on the card itself. So this is the regular straight stitch, and this is the triple stitch. So if you are starting, you might want to just start with those two stitches, because it will get you accustomed to working with paper, because it's not like fabric. You really have to hold it differently to make sure that it stays straight on your under your foot. But you see how you can also have fun making decorative stitches. So these are very cute. This is the front, this is the back. So my trick for the back, I actually go in the bobbin thread, find a 50 weight, the color of the cardstock. If you look at my older ones, the first ones I actually worked on, I actually did not use like black thread on that one. So there's a lot of stitching happening in the front and a lot of stitching in the back. However, if I would have used a pink one, then this would be just a little bit more subtle in the back. So, and you see this one, I actually did the stitch out on a piece of paper and then went over and just glued it to another paper. So I have a nice backing. So if you're not enjoying seeing this in the back, you might consider just gluing it onto another piece of paper afterwards. So you see, when I was talking about perforation, this design here, I had to stop making the design because it was actually creating holes, but I'll show you my work around that just in a little bit. So going back to this design here, this is, you can definitely start with these designs, but there's definitely room to grow. Like for example, this is one of the cross stitches, stitch outs that I did here, and one of the big decorative stitches here. So I just want to go through. So this was done with 30 weight thread. And as you can see in the bottom here, it did start perforating. It didn't start perforating at the front because my first cheater is I actually added, you can see here that glare, I actually added masking clear tape in the back of the cardstock. So it actually, it works like a stabilizer if you're embroidering. So it adds more sturdiness, so it won't perforate as much. However, here, I purposely kind of did it because I've increased the tension to show you what would happen with perforation. So you can see there's a big hole there. So this, what I did to not have that much damage, you can see on this line here where I have a very nice stitch out. This one, I actually reduced the tension from 50 to 40, and that allowed me to have less stress on the paper and get that beautiful design on. And you also have a nice design with this flower. However, you can't really see it because I actually cheated. So here with those little rounds that were made with the embroidery, they actually perforated. And let me just try to, so that's kind of what it did, make these holes. But because I have tape underneath, if you then massage them back in place, you can actually even add tape in the back afterwards. they will pop back up and you won't see that much of a perforation if you really like smooth them out. I hope I'm making this clear. I actually did the same design without any masking tape in the back. And you can see here, I had the 30 weight thread and it just really started to be terrible, tearing up and even breaking the thread. So it was just not working. However, moving to 40 weight thread and reducing the tension, I actually was able to create the design. Actually, the holes are much bigger here. Let me just, I purposely put black in the back so you can see that the holes are really bigger. So then again, you would have to massage, even if I'm trying to massage them back, the paper is gone because there was no tape to hold it in place. So it's not as if I could fix that one this time around. It's really just a big hole. However, if you attach that to another piece of cardboard underneath, then that color could go through and you have something really nice happening. I'm seeing that I'm having, okay, there we go. It's a nicer view. So you see how adding a cardstock underneath, it would actually give you color instead of just seeing this, this big hole if there's nothing holding it in the back. So that's another, just showing you my tricks of when I'm playing with these different stitches. And I just wanted to show you again, there's no tape in the back, just to show you how sturdy it is. This is another quilting design, I believe, that I did with, it's not showing, but it's actually metallic threads. So it's very shiny. Just, I have so much lighting that you can't really see that it's shiny, but it's a beautiful design and the hearts are not perforated. So again, play with the design, see what works and what doesn't with your machine. And it's really a nice design even in the back. All right, so I just wanted to show you this to get started. And now we can go on the machine and show you how we can produce this card. So Amy, are there any questions?
I don't see any questions, but I do have had several people mentioning that they do like to stitch on paper, that they've been making cards for quite a few years. So yeah, I think you've got the right audience here for this, for more information and inspiration.
Great. All right. So let's move ahead to the machine now. And I am going to start with, actually, I'm going to start with just one piece of paper because I'm trying to find, there, a piece of paper, nothing, no extra support in the back. I just want to show you how I start and finish any of my designs. So I'm just going to go to the regular straight stitch. Actually, I can do it straight directly onto the card. Yeah, let's save some time. So here's the card. And I'm going to, I won't be needing, in the projection, I won't be needing the grid for this design. So I'm going to remove the grid. However, I am going to keep that line to make sure that I am aligned with the stitch preview. Let me just see, stitch preview, but I also want to move. Oh, there, is it off? Oh, it's on. Yeah, so I'm going to remove the stitch preview. So those are good tricks to have. I actually use it a lot. So I'm removing the stitch preview and I want to make sure that my stitch line is exactly where my needle is because sometimes it's off. So I basically just go into my menu and move horizontally so that it matches my line. So I think I moved it by 1 millimeter to the right. So I know it's aligned exactly where I need it. So I can start stitching exactly where and just follow that red projection to make sure that I'm straight, because you'll notice with paper that it does move a little bit more than regular fabric does. So now here's how I get started. I think for this, I'm going to want to use the triple stitch for the M, which is what I did in the sample. So I'm going to put my foot down and just activate my needle up down just once. So I'm bringing it down, bringing it back up, and I want to pull that thread up with my using my tweezers. I always use my tweezers. So I grab both threads, put the needle back down, and I'm holding them to make sure that the tension is just perfect as I start. And because it's this triple stitch, it's actually going to be going forward, backwards, forward, forward, backward, forward. So you just got to remember and always think one step ahead, because once you get to that corner, it might not be the exact corner, but you'll have to wing it to see, okay, if I go one more, it's going to go down too much. So as soon as it goes backwards and forward again, I need to stop sewing and pivot to go there. Because remember, once that paper is perforated, you won't be able to go back. You cannot undo that. So I'm just holding my cards and holding the thread, and I'm just going to start. So now I can let go of the thread and just let it continue. And I'm just going to go one more. So I'm a little bit farther down, but I'm okay with that. I just have to remember to do the same on the other side, the other portion when I'm going to be here. So I'm just going to go, I believe it's just once here, and then work my way back up. So I'm going to go one more. So it's going forward, back, and then forward, and then pivot. And again, pivoting. And pivoting again. So it's really simple. It's fun when it's a triple stitch. I really like that stitch when making cards. It just gives that thickness and it's not perforating too much. So it's a good stitch for a beginner to start. But even for this design, I mean, I don't think I would choose any other design. All right, now before I go too far ahead, see I have these two pieces of thread that I was holding down at the beginning. So before I go back there, because I don't want to get confused and then not know which thread goes with what. So here's my trick when making cards. I'm going to grab those two threads and I'm going to tie a double knot. It's as simple as that. And so let me just, sorry, get my big hands out of the way. So here's the first knot, trying to make sure that I'm making the knot so that I see the least amount of bobbin thread on the top, especially now because I have yellow thread in the bottom. So there. So I did my double knot, and I'm just gonna grab my scissors and cut the excess thread so it's out of the way. And now I'm going to continue stitching. So now you have to be careful once you're joining the first two. So I'm going to go one more. So here, back, and here. Now I'm going to bring my needle up, raise my foot, push my card out of the way. So I have lots of extra thread. So now I can just cut the thread. And so I have all this extra thread. So let me move to my other camera and show you how I handle that part. Okay, so I have my top thread on the top and I have the bobbin thread in the bottom. All right, so I'm just going to grab my bobbin thread and pull just a little bit. Can you see that that top thread just moved down? So I'm just going to grab it and bring it all the way down and do the exact same thing that I had done on top and do tie, trying to get my big fingers out of the way so you can see it. Just literally doing a double knot. Right? And once that's done, I can cut my extra thread and I'm good to go. You could also, sometimes if, an accident happens and your thread's cut, you can just dab a little glue stick, a glue that dries out transparent, and you can do that on both sides and to make sure that it doesn't move. But usually just a double knot is just perfect to get that done. So here's my the first one that I did. Now for the heart, there are two ways of doing that part. All right, so you could do it free motion. However, just prefer because it's a I'm already set up. I'm just going to go with straight stitch and just go around. But again, if you're familiar with free motion and want to give it a try, why not? You could definitely do it in free motion. However, for me, I'm just going to go with the simple straight stitch. I'm at 2.5. I might increase it to 3 and work the same way. Whoops, on camera. Sorry about that. So again, I'm going to I always grab my thread, keep it in handy, and so I'm going to go around the heart a few times. So I don't necessarily need to stay on the line all the time. So I could just go and have fun and just swirl a little bit. And I could just technically also pick out a stitch that is curvy, that moves around. So play with all the different designs that stitches that you have on your machine. So just remember to make sure that the needle is down before pivoting. It's like when you're doing appliques, same principle. So I'm just going to move along and so again, that one, because I'm going to be going around 3-4 times, I'm going to tie my knot. I don't like to go over. I want to make sure that those are out of the way before I continue, because they can get stuck in your design. And if you try to rip them, get them out of the way afterwards, you might create just have something, a noops happening, paper getting torn and all that. So I kind of like to just do before I get back to it, just tie my knots and get rid of all the extra thread, get them out of the way. So again, just cross over don't try not to go in the exact same holes that you've already been on, because that will start the perforations. Might damage your paper beyond repair. So you'll need to add tape to keep it solid. So all of these things you have to remember to be careful. So Amy, if there are any questions as I'm stitching along, I can answer questions if anyone has questions.
Wondering if you would suggest it's probably a good idea to do some kind of sample stitch. It's like that triple stitch. You know how it goes. Like it goes two back, one forward, two back, one forward. So if you're doing decorative stitches, it would be a good idea to know how that stitch actually moves so that you know when
Exactly.
to stop and start.
Exactly. That's why I always have these extra pieces. I mean, I went straight because I'm sure if you're watching this Facebook Live, it's like, oh, Claire, just get on with it. Show me what you're doing. But if you're at home, you are going to definitely want to try it out on a piece of cardboard, another paper before even getting started. That absolutely, yes.
And they're loving the tip on using the heat erasable pen. That is such a good idea.
I know, yes, I love it. I love it. But I do want to, okay, let me just finish this. I'm just, again, moving away and then pressing that scissor and cutting the thread. Okay, you don't want to have that needle falling inside your card. So I have my extra. So I just want to go back to the heat removal. This is one project where I think I love the heat removal. However, just to be on the safe side, because I would feel bad that it would happen to one of you. If you're making a card and you want to send it to someone, just remember that these were actually the heat removals. If you remember when you were kids, you probably bought these I Spy pen where they disappear, but they can always reappear when you put them in the cold. So that was like, I used to have fun with those when I was a kid. But it's the same principle. So they're heat. So as soon as you apply heat, they disappear. However, put them in the freezer, it's going to pop up again. So nobody's going to put their card in a freezer, so you're safe. However, if you're mailing it and it's going to be on a plane in the cargo, it gets cold, so it might pop up. So I just want to put it out there. Or, if you live in, sub-zero temperatures and this card is going to be outside, they might have it pop up again. So just tell them to use an iron and it will disappear. But it'll never pop up most of the time. But just in case you're saying, how come it showed up? It does come back with cold. Okay. So yes, Amy, you had a question?
That's good. That's a good tip. I do have a couple more questions here. First of all, somebody wanting to know if you can fuse heavy interfacing to the back of the card. Would that help in any way?
All right. So good question. I thought of the exact same thing. However, fuse interfacing on the back of a card, it's not sexy, right? So if you're using clear plastic, clear tape, it really doesn't show and it does the same thing. So keep your stabilizers for fabric, just use tape in a back of a paper. All right. So that's honestly my trick. It's simpler to just add this tape behind your paper, and then you can do so much more because you can test it out, but even at first I'm like, hey, I'm going to use water soluble stabilizer. I'm like, I'm never going to put paper in water, so that doesn't work. So all of our regular go-to stabilizers for sewing, they're not really the ideal in this part. But I've even thought, if I want to, for example, there's so many things in my head going on right now. I could actually take scraps of fabrics and put that in the back and then sew, so it still acts like a holding the paper, but we're trying to move away from paper. So there are many ways to cheat on that aspect. And also, if you're making cards and you have old blocks, like I know I tried to find, it's always like that. You have this one thing and you can't find it the day of. I have these leftover half square triangles, and I have this leftover log cabin. They are going to be great to add onto a card stock to make a card, and then just write something in it. It's all going to hold on the paper, so that's something I'm definitely going to be doing also. So going back to this, I just want to show you, I've actually use the scrap. I had this steam seam fabric that I really love. So I said, okay, let's create a heart. So if like I showed you on the other one, you could actually just add a heart here and then start sewing on the heart. And so I can show you it's the same principle. So let's go back to this camera. Again, I can go here and create, I could even technically, because I have paper, just for the heck of it, I'm going to try it out. Of course, this is live. I could be, get ready for something terrible that's going to happen, but I have a very good feeling about this. So I am just trying to find a satin stitch that is to my liking. And so if you want to do a satin stitch onto here, I would not do the satin stitch. Sorry, I got to get my hand out of the way. I would not do the satin stitch on the paper side because that's definitely going to perforate. I don't think it's going to perforate if you keep it on the heart. So I'm just going to, again, test out my theory with you guys live. And so if you make a satin stitch on cardstock, whoops, didn't have my needle down position, so I'm really getting close to that seam. All right, so let's go this way. See how now it's really, again, it's when you do appliques, your needles everywhere else, my needle had to be on the right hand side before I would pivot, but now because I'm in the center of that curve, inward curve, my needle has to be on the left before I pivot back. So all these things are still applicable when you make these designs, and now I'm pivoting with the needle on the right. So it's a lot of fun because it's a card you're going to be giving away, so you'll never see your mistakes. So it's a good time to practice all these things before making your next quilt project or any type of project. So here we go. The problem with what I'm seeing right now, and you see, so that's why I don't like, first of all, not tying before, so then they both connected. But here we go. Let me just the problem I find with that, and you guys are going to say that I'm kind of like making a big fuss over it, but because it's an old needle, it's just, again, proving the point. Because it's an old needle, it is pulling my threads, so my applique is not as nice. So, but you can see the design though. It's kind of fun to be able to do that satin stitch with metallic thread onto an applique. I really like the design. I think I'm actually going to be using that in another project. You can almost see that it's let me try to see here. It is a metallic thread, so it's even shiny. So it's really cute. It's a lot of fun, and I would, again, handle the just make sure that you pick the right two that are on top to tie, and then actually in this case, because they're both there, I didn't tie them up. If I would pull on the back one, I'd be able to see and pull one of the top threads in the back. So then I know these are the two beginning, and those two, so I would tie them in different spots. So this is how I handle an applique, and you can have fun making very tight seams because it will not perforate your paper because you have that fabric. I do have steam seam in the back of that fabric, so it is helping to maintain the whole thing will, that paper will not will not fall apart. Okay, mind you, I kept I think it was 1.5. Yeah, so my satin stitch, the width is 2, the length is 1.5. I wouldn't go closer because it would definitely create a perforation, and then that whole heart could fall out of the paper. Um, unless you have, again, unless you would have used tape in the back to keep it. But it's nice. It's a very nice design here. You can see with this design, I actually made one of those quilting, I think it's a quilting design or decorative stitch. I went through all around the heart and made circles in it. And I could have just continued making circles inside here. So this was a lot of fun to do. This design here is actually the monogram that I've put. And then I went into creating sequence creator, and I put a date in and then just went in and designed the rest for borders. So that's how I went about with that. So Amy, are there any, no, I'm not done. Actually, I'm just going to show you these other possibilities. I'm looking at the time. I'm realizing that I've got to move on, but I just want to show you other possibilities that it's like there's so many. I need more days to be having fun with all this. If you have leftover tulle, I had leftover pink tulle and it disappeared on me, so I'm very disappointed. So I found black. At least I can show you what I want to do. If I take a square and I fold it in half and then fold it in half again, and then just create fold it like in a triangle, I can create a beautiful flower, and I can actually cut the extra here. And so you can do this and then go ahead and stitch that bottom part and just create a flower by stitching it in place. You can make, oh, this looked so much better when I was doing it this morning and testing it out. Let me just twist this around a little bit. So you can actually go ahead and create your tulle flower and just do a triple stitch in the bottom, cut out the excess. And if you have all these ribbons that are laying around and you don't know what to do, you can also do a triple stitch, a couple of them to hold it in place, and then create a bow or just use it as a border on this side here. You can add so much stuff to just stitch it in place. You can have so much fun. So, all right, I think I said everything I wanted to do. So remember, always oh, I can't say that. Let's try this again. Test stitch, say that 10 times. So test stitch on scrap paper before you start on your final piece. Remember to layer different tulle fabric swatches. There's so much fun you can have. And again, use tape in the back. And if you want like that flower, that tulle flower, you can actually just dab a little bit of glue just to hold it in place, and then add that triple stitch so that it looks nice and neat. So I'm hoping this inspires you to, and you can put into the comments, what would you make knowing all of the stuff, the tricks that I've showed you? Would you make a birthday, holiday? What are your thoughts? What could you go and make on your sewing machine today? So Amy, are there any questions before I move to the embroidery side?
You do have a couple. Somebody wondering if you've ever used watercolor paper, and do you think that would work better than cardstock?
I'm sorry, I don't know what watercolor paper is, so I don't know how to answer that question because I honestly don't know what that is.
I could answer that one, and I would say
Go right
yes.
ahead.
I think watercolor paper, especially if you're using like a cotton rag paper, would probably work really well because it's a little bit thicker. And I see somebody else actually commented that watercolor paper often has long fibers in it, so it would probably work really well for stitching on there. And then somebody else asked you, have you ever tried using any of the maxi stitches on your machine on paper?
Yes. Let me see. I'm trying to think because where is that? I believe this to be a maxi stitch. That flower is part of the. I'm just trying to find because I think with my PFAFF Creative Maxi Art Stitches, this is actually in the Maxi Art Stitches. So yes, They work. I would, again, remember when I said I used a 30 weight thread and was having problems, so I moved down to a 40 weight thread, reduced the tension as much as I believe by standard it was at 50. I brought it down to 40, and having the tape in the back really helped. So 40 weight thread, tape in the back, yes, Maxi definitely was a gorgeous flower to make.
That's all I see for now. So yeah, if you want to move on to the software, we can try
Okay.
that.
Perfect. So I just really wanted to show you again. Let's go back to this card. I had this glossy. Again, it doesn't show, but it's a very shimmering a white thread fabric that I used to create this embroidery card. So could be for graduation. I think it was a perfect timing. And what I liked is because here. I actually added here your own text. You can really customize it, and I like the fact that in the back you can say personally designed by for you by your proud mom, or whatever you want to write. I mean, you have that skill set with the embroidery. You can write whatever you want on it, as opposed to well, you could try to do it like I did a little bit of stitching on this card, but it is just a little bit more tedious for the sequencing and all that, but it's still possible. But there's way more to do with the embroidery because you can reduce the size so you can write really long, a lot of things. So I am going to go, so let me just put this here. And so you can have a close-up of the card. And as I do that, I'm going to go and find my, I just have to find the software on my computer. And here we go. I'm hoping that you guys can see my screen.
Not yet. I think you hit the wrong button. You, instead of hitting the hide button, you put stop sharing.
That's so typical.
So do all that again.
Let's do that again. Sorry, guys. Oh God. So there. And here we go. I'm getting there. Okay.
All right, we're there now. Yep.
We're there. Okay, perfect. So I am in the embroidery software. I'm going to go back to the first screen. So if you see all these icons on your left, you're going to have projects in the hoop right here. And so this happens, this icon is available when you have the gold or platinum subscription. All right, so I'm just going to double click. And here is what, because it shows you there's so many different things that you can do in the projects in the hoop, but we're going to focus on the cards today. So I'm just going to click next so you can see the card. And so there are many different designs available. So so much, if you're not in, and that's what I figured. If I'm not liking what I see in the card stores, I don't like what they have. It's not personalized the way I want it. So let's hit Mother's Day. There we go. You can actually go and create your own. So I'm trying to remember where I found mine. Maybe was it an invitation? No. See, I should have checked where mine was. Or was it blank? I'm sorry, I'm going to stop. So I'm just going to go here because, and so you choose what you want to do. You can actually make postcards. So I know it's a very, there's a lot of trending posts, sending postcards to friends. This is probably where you can get your easiest getting started creating postcards going through this. I'm going to stick with a folding. You can choose if you want to have it square, portrait, or landscape. All right, so mine was landscape. And before I'm going to click finish, I just want to go here and say view the PDF. All right, because this is where you are going to be able to see, I'm hoping you can, I hope you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. So it's
Yes,
actually the
it's there. Yes.
PDF. Thank you, Amy. It's showing you exactly the how to make the card. You know, once it's embroidered, how to cut it out and how to stitch it together so that you get the design that you want. Okay, so you just either save it to your laptop or your tablet so you can follow along, or and it's actually showing you at the beginning how to go and do all your personalized stuff. Okay, so it's really helpful. Just grab it, save it to your whatever, or print it, whatever works for you, and then you can go back here, click finish, and it's going to show up on your computer. So now it's not the same design as the one I created, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and rotate my hoop so that it fits. So I'm using the 360 by 260 hoop. So you do need a big size hoop. The hoop size is right here to make it fit. And so this is what I was talking about here. You see personally designed for you by, and you can add your own text here. So you see I'm clicking and nothing's happening. It's because you need to go to the left side and go exactly, just scroll down and you will find, so my text I've highlighted here, I can now go in it and edit lettering and go here and change the design. So you're going to have to play with it because, you see how they pressed, you need to do an enter so it to go back down, and you need to go back down. So it's not doing it for you, pushing it like a regular software. So you have to decide how many words fit in one line and then move to the second line. And if you have a bigger text, then you need to reduce the size of your lettering to be able to continue. So that's what you have to do here. And also here, again, just right click, edit lettering, and you can go here and finish editing and then press OK. If it's too long, reduce the size again. And you can also go here and change the color if you need that help to be able to transfer what's in your head to make sure that it's exactly the right color that you want on for what you're doing. And here, Jane and Michael's, obviously you can go and edit it. So edit lettering. So you go here and you change the name. So everything is, I like to say, customizable. So all of these lettering, you can go and change everything in the text. All right. So and once you're done, you can save it, and then with that little cloud, you can send it to your sewing machine. And once it's set up in embroidery, you're able to start the embroidery process. So it's a fairly I like to say easy, but I have been in I have embroidered a few things before, so I'm getting accustomed to this whole computer layout. If you're not accustomed to it, it's a very good project to get started, to understand how everything is working. So again, just remember that you need to, because if you have several blocks highlighted, you can't go you can't go and edit a text. So you just got to make sure that you just have one of these highlighted and then edit the lettering so you can go and make the changes. That's how it works. And if you need to change the color, make sure that that the box is highlighted. And I go here and change the color. I'm sure if I go here, there's another way to go and change the color, but I go here and just say change color, and I can go in and just change the color here and go back, and it's a new color. Are there any questions, Amy, in terms of the software?
I am not seeing any. No.
Okay, perfect. So I am going to stop sharing now. Oops, no, that's not how you stop sharing. I'll make this happen. So it was so easy to stop sharing the first time around. All right.
Oops, I think Claire hit the wrong button again. She should be back in just a second.
Got hung up.
You're back.
You did that. Oh my God. Thank God
It's always an adventure, Claire.
I sew much better than I use computers. I guess you guys figured that out now. Okay, so I'm sorry for that. I'm back. So I'm hoping that you enjoyed that second on how to embroider your cards. I believe, Amy, there wasn't any questions, but has any one of you have a new idea on how to make cards? What's the next card they're going to be making?
I haven't seen any comments on that yet, although somebody did ask if the text edit screen can be moved.
It can be, because it's not like in these other different software where you're typing directly into that hoop. It's really, you need to open a window and you need to write that in there. So you do need, if you're like wondering, do I have enough space in the area, or do I have to hit return a little bit more? You have to really finish, look at it on the finished product and go back in. There's no way of like seeing exactly in the hoop what's happening. It's a two levels. Yeah, it's not like I would say like a Photoshop system, system. It's completely different software.
I don't see any other questions.
All right. So I think that we're going to be wrapping it up. And so thank you everyone for joining me today. And I hope that I really enjoyed sharing all the creative twists that you can do with sewing the cards. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And don't forget that everything that's shown here, whether the PFAFF creative icon to, or anything that has to do with the Momento digital cutter, or the clear open toe foot, the quilter's table or extension table, they're all available if you want to just pop in on our website or at your local dealer, and they will be able to show you all of those. So keep on making beautiful things, and hopefully we will see you soon again in another live event.